each day should have one specific goal. Like, you shouldn't have a to-do list of a whole bunch of different things. There should be one main focus that you want to achieve, and if you accomplish that, the day is a success. What's up, captains? Welcome aboard another episode of the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast. This is your captain speaking, Taylor Morgan. Today, I'm coming at you with another repurposed interview. So I had the absolute pleasure of recently being interviewed on the Struggle to Strength podcast with Josh and Travis. And let me tell you, these guys are expert podcasters. We really hit it off. I had a blast on their show, and I wanted to bring it to you guys so you can hear what we talked about. We talked a lot about sleep, as I always talk about, specifically the 4-3-2-1-30 method and why I'm wearing these right now, which if you're listening to the audio, I'm pointing to my blue light blocking glasses. We also get into what it takes to achieve peak performance, as well as optimize your productivity. We also talk about decision-making fatigue and proper goal setting. So this is a power-packed episode with a ton of knowledge, and check out their podcast, Struggle to Strength podcast. If you like my show, you're absolutely going to like their show, clearly, because they have really good guests on there. Wink, wink. But yeah, with all that being said, I don't want to take any more of your time. Let's get into today's episode on the Struggle to Strength podcast.
Before we get into it, I know a lot of our listeners are in the health and fitness space. A lot of them obviously are looking to optimize their sleep, optimize their performance, and you are the guy for that. So everybody, this is Taylor, and I want to give you an opportunity just to introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, what you're about.
So yeah, my name's Taylor, and former Marine Corps veteran, current holistic lifestyle specialist. And yeah, that's what I do now. I absolutely love it. I coach specifically social entrepreneurs in their health, happiness, and productivity, anything that they can do to improve or increase their impact. That's what I help them with. Host a podcast, the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast. So we talk about anything health, wellness, nutrition, mindset, productivity, all that type of stuff. And I've had a pretty interesting journey to what led me down this path. So I'm excited to get into it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you for coming on. A couple of things that you mentioned, impact and the Captain's Lifestyle. Obviously, we're about impact over everything. So that's going to be really great to hear your take on how to improve your impact. But then Captain's Lifestyle, to me, it sounds like just being a fucking boss.
That's essentially what it is.
Am I right? Okay.
No, that's what it is. And the name came about because my last name is Morgan. So, nickname Captain Morgan. And I started living this optimized lifestyle, and I was like, holy shit, like, why don't more people live this way? Like, why don't more people take care of their sleep, take care of their, understand what's going into their body and how you can use that as fuel as opposed to, just eating for pleasure. And it's like being the captain of your own life means recognizing that you and only you are in control of whatever situation comes up in your life and how you respond to that. So, if you get laid off from work, for example, it's like, okay, oh, well, I couldn't control that situation, but what I can control is how I now respond and recover from that. It's like you are in control of how much time you spend working towards your goals. It's not society's fault that you're not succeeding. It's everything relies on you and your effort that you put forth.
That's facts. Yeah. And if you're not doing anything about it, you just don't want it bad enough, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't hurt bad enough. So
I hate the victim mentality.
Dude, yeah.
Captain's Lifestyle is basically the opposite of the victim mentality.
Yep. And I feel like we've all maybe been there at some point in our lives. I guess some people are just born fucking bosses, but a lot of times we had to work out of something to get to where we are now. What were you doing before you had this realization? Like, what was your life like and what made you want to change it?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I feel like Jocko Willink is one of those guys who just popped out of the womb, ready to fucking go.
Yeah.
That dude he's nuts. Him and David Goggins, I feel like they were just born fucking hard asses.
Yeah. The world needs people like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, my journey towards this path of lifestyle optimization, I mean, I've always been a relatively healthy dude. Like in high school, you know, I always played sports. I was always working out, doing CrossFit, eating relatively healthy to my knowledge at the time. Because, you know, in high school, there really is no talk about optimal nutrition. You know, like you're fed this incredibly unhealthy, greasy pizza and, you know, hormone filled milk and all this nasty stuff. There's no, even if you take a nutrition class, like all the information in there is extremely outdated, you know, like the food pyramid, eating grains and all that type of stuff. It's like, so I was eating relatively healthy at the time, working out, like I said. And then after high school, joined the Marine Corps. And kind of what really got me down this path is leading up to this. It's kind of a long story, but I broke my ankle while drunk and just being stupid. I was jumping from rooftop to rooftop of these beach houses. Crazy story behind that, but I landed on the other side of one, heard a snap, and that kind of sobered me up for a little bit. And, you know, ended up driving back to base in the morning once I woke up in my car. Come to find out I had broken my ankle, and this was like 3 days before my next deployment. And so obviously I had to stay back from deployment. And like I said, that was the moment that I kind of woke up and was like, Taylor, like, you got to stop doing this. Not that I was doing nothing with my life, but I knew that I was not being as productive with my time as I could have been. I was, you know, drinking every weekend, playing video games all day. And now, especially with everybody leaving and me staying behind, there was nobody to hold me accountable. I could have done whatever the fuck I wanted. But I chose to use that time to my advantage. I started diving deep into everything personal development, podcasts, started reading books, which I had never done before, not even in high school. I never read a single book. Taking online college courses, working out more, really doing everything I could to optimize my performance because I didn't like the path that I was going down. I completely cut out alcohol for 2 years. And yeah, that's what started this journey. And there's a little bit more that goes into that, but that was, I would say, the major catalyst in this whole holistic health journey.
Mm-hmm. And once you started making those changes, I think one of the most exciting parts of helping in my coaching business, the clients that I work with, helping them understand how these little things can optimize their life in such pretty simple ways. Like how fast did it take for you to start feeling better once you started figuring out what you needed to implement?
Well, as soon as I made the decision,
I felt just better. Like that. Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people are hung up is, you know, like the gym example, you know, somebody who's been a couch potato their whole life wants to start going to the gym, but they have this self-talk with themselves like, yeah, one day I might start going to the gym. They never fully make the decision. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I am going to the gym, as opposed to, yeah, I should start working out. Once you make the decision, everything else in your life becomes easier, because if you're, you know, going back and forth, will I, won't I, it's exhausting. But make the decision, yes or no, and it's just like a weight's lifted off your shoulders. Mm-hmm. So once I made the decision to get better, it was like, okay, now it starts. Not that things got easier, by any means, just a different type of challenge, I guess.
Hard. Choose your hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the thing about decision making, I think it's important for people to understand that applies to everything. That's not just hard shit. That's not just going to the gym. Dude, I catch myself doing this all the time where I'm like, fuck, I got to fold laundry. Or like, I have to do this. I'm like, no, motherfucker, I'm going to.
The act of having something on your to-do list is an item on the to-do list in itself. It's like, just get rid of that and do the thing.
Just do that.
Well, decision-making fatigue is a real thing. That's why, you know, these billionaires that you see, like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, they wear basic clothes. You know, they don't go into their closet and say, like, what am I going to wear today? They don't give a shit. Like, that's the
least of their worries.
Like, it's like, who gives a fuck what they're wearing? That's the most basic decision they have to make all day. They just pick out whatever they see, put it on, because they have better things to think about.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear that like decision making in your brain actually does like use a lot of energy. So cutting out a lot of those like decisions, like especially early in the morning when you want to be productive, for instance, like that example, it seems like trivial, seems small, but little things like, all right, get up and make your bed. So then there's not that feeling in the back of your head of like, oh, I need to make my bed. You just do it. And then you grab like clothes out of your closet so that you're not thinking about what should I wear? Like those little things do take mental energy. And for those guys where like a little bit of mental energy could be worth tens of millions of dollars, like those little decisions are actually going to move the needle on their company, which seems silly to a lot of people, but it's real.
Yeah, that's why habits are so foundational to high performance. Like you have to have these high performance habits in place because decision-making fatigue is a real thing. You shouldn't be wasting your brain power on, what you're going to wear that day. It should just be, you should have these habits in place. Morning time specifically, you should have a set morning routine. You should have a set evening routine. So it's just the same thing over and over.
Yep. Yeah, everything is based on habit. And Travis, you made a good point of like, oh man, I have to make my bed. I have to do this. Even when that, like these things pile on top of each other. So like, dude, getting into an unmade bed every night and having poor sleep hygiene is going to negatively impact your sleep. And that's going to negatively impact your productivity and your performance. You just talked about morning and nighttime routines. How do you encourage people to go about finding those that work for them? Because they're different for everybody. We know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would recommend clicking the link in my Instagram bio, info.thecaptainslifestyle.com. I teach all my clients the 4-3-2-1-30 method for their nightly ritual. And 4 hours before bed, it's make sure you finish up all intense exercise. So as long as you work out in the morning or the afternoon, you're fine, because you don't want to work out too close to bedtime because that raises your core body temperature and your cortisol, the two things that you really want to lower right before bed. And then 3 hours before bed, it's finish up your last meal. So you don't want to have a big meal sitting in your stomach digesting, because that also raises your core body temperature. And your core body temperature needs to drop by 2 degrees in order to get into deep sleep, which is the reparative sleep where you release HGH and testosterone. So the really restorative sleep. 2 hours before bed is limit all forms of stimulation. So artificial lights from screens, any type of device, overhead LED lights, as well as sound. You don't want to be listening to, hardcore metal right before bed. You want stuff that helps wind you down. 1 hour before bed is limit your liquid intake, especially if you have to wake up to pee in the middle of the night. That's a super simple one that can increase the quality of your sleep. Because if your sleep is interrupted, if you have to wake up to pee, by limiting your liquids, that's a super simple way to fix that. And then also an hour before bed, minimum, you should start your nightly ritual. So this means no work. I would say no screens, ideally. And like you said, this is going to depend per person. Somebody might like meditation, somebody might like journaling, somebody might like stretching or foam rolling, an Epsom salt bath, whatever works for you. And it can change night to night, but something that helps wind you down. And then the 30 is take your supplements. And again, these are going to be individual per person, but something that I recommend everybody take is magnesium, because that's huge for regulating your stress response, as well as improving your deep sleep, as well as a whole host of other health related benefits. So that's one I recommend everybody take. But then there's things like melatonin, valerian root, passion flower, all these things. So that's the 4-3-2-1-30 method. I think everybody should follow the 4-3-2-1, and then the nightly ritual is where you kind of get some personalization of what works for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree with all of those. Any of my clients listening are probably like, yeah, that sounds familiar. And you have a fancy name for it, which I like. I really do like that. I'm curious, what's your take on, well, first off, I want to know, what kind of magnesium do you recommend? Is it the Magnesium Calm? Is it glycinate?
Glycinate is, I think is okay. the pronunciation. Glycinate is good, but the problem with only using one form of magnesium is you only get the benefits from that one form. Yep. So different forms of magnesium have different functions in the body. Like there's one that's good for stress response. There's one that's good for your brain, for like the firing of neurons. And I don't know the specific types for each one, but I know that if you're using it for muscular recovery, magnesium glycinate is probably the best one. But I use a combination of seven different types of highly bioavailable magnesium. It's in a one single supplement. Calm is good. That's one that's recommended. Anything that ends in 8 is good. So glycinate, citrate, taurate, 3 and 8. You want to avoid magnesium oxide and this is the one that's in most commercial magnesium supplements because it's the cheapest, and it's the cheapest because it's the most poorly absorbed. Only about like 5% gets absorbed. So you want to get one of these more bioavailable magnesiums, because even though you're paying for the cheap one, you think you're saving money, you're really not getting your bang for your buck because your body's not absorbing it.
Yeah, you're just giving more work to your body to not absorb shit for no reason.
Yeah. So I use Magnesium Breakthrough, which combines all 7.
Is that the brand, or is that?
No, the brand is BioOptimizers.
Okay.
They make a lot of good supplements, but
I'm gonna check them out.
It's called Magnesium Breakthrough, and if anybody listening wants a discount on that, it's code Captain Morgan.
Sick.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. No, I'm definitely gonna check that out. I typically will recommend either like the Magnesium Calm supplement, like the powdered version. That's great for digestion too, or what was the other one?
Glycinate.
Yeah, the glycinate. Or the Revive Calm or something like that has some magnesium in it as well. I'm curious, since we're talking about sleep, your take on melatonin, and wouldn't we rather just be better about managing our cortisol?
Yeah. So the only reason I would recommend melatonin is if you're trying to, one, reset your circadian rhythm, because melatonin can be huge, because if your circadian rhythm is all jacked up, from the blue light, you're on screens before bed, then your body's not producing melatonin because blue light shuts off melatonin production. So I would recommend supplementing then if your circadian rhythm is jacked up. 2, I'd recommend it if you drank that night or you're not going to get a good night's sleep, because alcohol also suppresses melatonin production. Like I took melatonin last night, only 0.6 milligrams. You don't need these large doses, anything from 0.3, like 0.3 is probably the minimum to make an effect. And also if you're traveling, so it can really help with jet lag, crossing multiple different time zones. So those are the 3 instances that I would recommend. I don't recommend taking it on a daily basis because it can mess up your body's natural production of melatonin if you have a healthy circadian rhythm. Yeah.
Okay. And now in establishing that,
actually, I should say one other thing. If you're over the age of 55, I do recommend daily supplementation, because that's when your melatonin starts to decrease. So really? Then it can be okay to take, 0.3 milligrams daily.
Okay. But that's a small dose. That's not, you hear 3 and 5 milligrams on a lot of these supplements that's just their typical dosage. That seems really high.
Yeah.
Every day that's not good.
5, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. For jet lag, that can be good. Higher dose is good for jet lag.
But definitely not daily.
No.
Yeah.
What is a circadian rhythm, and what's a healthy versus non-healthy circadian rhythm?
Yeah, good question. I actually just recorded a YouTube video on this a couple weeks ago. I went down to the local pier and just asked people, like, first off, what would you rate your sleep? And then almost nobody said above a 6, which was, shocking. And then I asked those same people, have you ever heard of your circadian rhythm? And most of them said no, which probably explains why they don't have good sleep. Some of them have heard of it, but they really, don't know what it is.
That's surprising.
So your circadian rhythm, to answer your question, is your body's internal clock. It's, for most people, going to bed with the sunset and getting up with the sunrise. This is going to depend a little bit on what's called your chronobiology, which there's a really good free test online by Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor. Go to thepowerofwhenquiz.com. and this will tell you your specific chronotype. There's 4 different types. So if you've heard the terms like night owl or early bird, like those are real things. Modern society is based off of the bear chronotype, which is the rise and fall of the sun. That's why the school times and work times are the way that they are. But if you're a dolphin, for example, which is a night owl, then, if you take the common entrepreneurial advice of go to bed early, wake up early, that's probably not going to work for you. Dolphins are, they thrive off of going to bed a little bit later and waking up a little bit later. So again, that depends on your chronobiology. And then what was the second part of your question? What is it? And then
so like, for someone who doesn't know anything about this listening, they're like, oh, maybe I have what would be an unhealthy circadian? What's an example of like a unhealthy circadian rhythm? And then what's an example of like a healthy circadian rhythm?
Yeah, well, again, that's going to be individual. So you can just go take that free test and it will tell you, and there's videos to go along with it, like when your bedtime should be, when your wake up time should be, when the best time to work out is, when the best time to eat and even have sex. Like there's specific times that are optimal for everybody. Now, obviously, everybody's schedule isn't going to fit perfectly with those things, but the closer that you can get to that is best. And to know if you have circadian rhythm issues is really if you have any sort of issue with sleep. If you have trouble falling asleep, if you have trouble staying asleep, if you have trouble getting up out of bed in the morning, if you're groggy throughout the day, those are all signs that your circadian rhythm is not optimized. So I would say some of the most common reasons for that are, one, not watching the sunrise, because light is the main thing that sets your circadian rhythm, in addition to meal timing and movement. And then on the same topic of light, not getting sunlight in the morning, but then bombarding yourself with blue light in the evening. So scrolling through Instagram or whatever while you're laying in bed, watching TV on your laptop. If you don't have any sort of blue light blocking glasses or software downloaded on your computer, it's horrible. It's like we're living in reverse. People want to sleep in the daytime and then stay up at nighttime. That's the opposite of how we should be living.
Mm-hmm. And even if you are wearing those blue light glasses, it helps with the blue light perspective, but you're still stimulating your brain with social media and whatever you're engaging with. So it does become difficult. My question for you is, say we take this quiz and say, we come up as someone comes up as a night owl or a dolphin, you mentioned.
Yeah.
How does that person succeed in today's like normal society and work and school environment?
Yeah, that's tough. You mean like if they have a regular 9-to-5 job, or if they're a student?
If they're a student in school and they're in school from 8 to 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Can you make that work? Can you switch how you're wired, or do you have to work around it?
You can't switch it because it's in your genetics.
Okay.
It does change throughout your lifetime. But usually once you're past maturity, it stays the same up until, I think it might change again when you're like a senior citizen, but usually for your adult years, it stays the same, which I'm guessing is the majority of the listenership in this podcast. So there's nothing you can do to change it. But like I said, your chronotype might not match up perfectly with your daily schedule. So to answer your question, how you can optimize that is by absolutely investing in a pair of blue light blockers, is downloading Iris on your computer that turns your computer red. And to your point, stopping the use of electronics at least an hour before bed, doing the 4-3-2-1-30 method, and really dialing in your circadian rhythm, and more towards the bear chronotype if you have that 9-to-5 or school. You might not feel the best that you possibly can because you're not aligning with your specific chronobiology, but you can make the best of it by, really being cognizant of your light exposure, especially your movement timing. Waking up, first thing you should do is some form of movement to get the blood and the lymph flowing. And then eating breakfast first thing in the morning too can help signal to your body that, okay, now it's time to wake up. Mm-hmm. And then, like I mentioned in the 4-3-2-1-30, not eating close to bedtime.
Yeah. And maybe
same thing with shift work. Shift work is probably the worst
Dude,
thing you can do for your health.
That's
fucks
exactly what I was
I
just going to say.
I was curious
Yeah.
to know if you have a a protocol for shift workers. I've had some that I've been playing around with, but I'm really curious to hear your take.
I would say go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on your off days, which is
about
weird
when
for
you-
some people.
Even when they switch or even on their off
Yeah.
days? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's not, the most socially acceptable way to live because you're going to have this weird, reverse schedule. But if you're trying to optimize your health, I think that that's the way to go, because one of the big problems, and this happens to, regular people who don't have shift work, typically people who have a 9-to-5 job, they'll have the same wake up schedule Monday through Friday, but then the weekend comes and then they sleep in and stay up late. And then their body starts to get used to that new cycle. And then Monday morning comes and they stayed up late Sunday night, and then they have to wake up early Monday morning, and then they wonder why they feel like shit. It's because your body was starting to get used to this new cycle. And then you said, nope, we're going back to the old one. So that's what happens with shift work on a much larger scale. So if you can go to bed at the same time within an hour and wake up at the same time within an hour, no more, that's a simple hack that you can use to maximize that. Again, I understand it's not the most socially acceptable, but if you're really trying to maximize your health, do that. Also, like my best friend is a cop, and he, is shift work, obviously, and he's on night shift right now. And I got him a pair of blue light blockers because wearing those in the morning, because he gets off at 4 a.m. when the sun's coming up. I said, put on the blue light blockers, because even though, that's when you should be getting sunlight, that's when you're starting to go to bed. So you don't want that stimulation. So it's absolutely not good for your health, but there are some ways that you can, I guess, make the best of it.
Okay. So like your buddy, I'm sure he has, this is a question that I get, and I have this with a lot of my clients who either they're like switch shift workers. So they'll work nights for a week and then they'll work days, which dude, I feel for them so much.
You start to
Like,
feel insane when you do that.
Dude, for real, you're depriving yourself, you're fucking yourself up, but like they get paid more and it's what job was available, what position was available. So I've utilized some supplementation with them and seen some improvement with like a Revive Calm or a magnesium supplement before they go to bed every time to help initiate melatonin production, cut cortisol, and then like an adrenal health supplement, like an Adrenal Core, an Adrenal Health from New Ethics, to stimulate cortisol production, get the adrenals going. And then Metagenics has a product called Ad Reset that actually, from their perspective, and I've seen it work a little bit, will help expedite the shift so you can adapt in a shorter amount of time. Does that sound like something that you would recommend? Is that something you've implemented? Do you have other recommendations for those people who are switching from day shift to night shift like that?
Yeah, so I haven't heard anything about that supplement, and in order for me to give my thoughts, I would have to see the ingredients and what's in it in order to recommend it or not.
I'll shoot it over to you.
Yeah, send it to me, because I'm curious about that. But the recommendations basically stay the same. Just because you're on shift work, that just means you follow the recommendations kind of opposite. You block blue light in the morning and then get like an artificial blue light device in the evening when you're awake and active. But I mean, my biggest recommendation for people who have shift work, especially if it's, switching so frequently every week, that's horrible, is get a new job. Who gives a fuck if you're getting more money? Who gives a fuck if that was the only job available?
That's what I'd say.
Money is not more important than your health and happiness. So if you truly don't love your job, like, you have to fucking love it. That has to be your passion, your calling. You would do it even without getting paid. Like, you have to love that. If you don't, if there's any sort of reservations or hesitations to going to work, get a new job. Doesn't matter how much the pay is, because money literally means nothing if you're not healthy and happy.
Yep.
So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. So
quit right now.
To that point, I mean, Travis and I were talking about this the other day. A lot of what I do myself is based on just my desire to be the most optimized, most effective human possible. And I'll literally change major parts of my life around it. Do you believe that most people should live that way? Like you are supposed to be the most optimized, feeling your best, feeling just feeling your best every day. Should people try to select their jobs around it based on if they're a night owl or a bear? Or how do you think people should basically structure their lives, really?
Yeah, I think you should structure your life off what truly fulfills you and what makes you happy. Because like my parents, for example, I've been harping on my parents. I bought them blue light blocking glasses too. My dad has changed his diet. He's sleeping better. Granted, he feels so much better. He was a professional baseball player. He's played his whole life. And like 5 years ago, he had to, retire because he wasn't feeling good. He wasn't having fun playing anymore. And since then, he's started implementing these, sleep changes, the nutrition changes, working out a lot more. And now he's back to playing baseball just because he feels better than he did 10 years ago. Uh-huh. So there is that part of it. Like you have to give a shit about your body in order to live a healthy and happy life. I really believe that. But doesn't mean you have to take it to the extent as, us, really geeking out on it because he's happy. The most important aspect of a long, healthy, fulfilling life is relationships. And he is very content with his current life, with his relationships. So even though he could tweak some things on the health side, I really don't think it matters. Like, could it add some extra years to his life? Yeah. But if he's truly happy, and when I say truly happy, not just like, yeah, I'm happy, like really fulfilled with yourself, then I don't think it matters. The Harvard happiness study is where I'm getting most of this from. They followed people throughout their whole entire lives, and it's gone for like, 75 plus years. And what they found, the single biggest factor to a long, fulfilling life was not your diet, was not whether you smoked cigarettes. It was the quality of your connections with the people who are your closest to. So I think you should make your decisions based off of your happiness. But going back to what I said earlier, there has to be some, like, you have to take care of your body, at least to the basic sense. Like, I don't think you can be optimized if your sleep isn't. Like that has to be dialed in, because sleep is just so foundational to everything else in your life.
I mean, it's like trying to be happy while you're starving every day. Like, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
If your sleep is
you have to have the basics, like,
you have to
basic
eat
healthy
and drink
nutrition,
water,
basic movements. Yeah. Water, sleep. You don't have to really geek out on these things.
Yeah. I think, and this is now reminding me of, you probably see this a lot in clients that come to you that don't sleep well. And, I see it a lot in sleep and digestion and all sorts of things, injuries. People are like, it's just the way it is. And I'm like, dude, but do you know how much better it could be? Like,
do you know how much money you're leaving on the table?
Yes. Yeah. That. My dad is a perfect example of that. He's 65, I think 66 now. And he's told me, he's like, I feel better than I did 10 years ago. And this goes for any person who thinks that they're getting older. You don't have to have all these random aches and pains. Like, you don't have to wake up in the morning and, struggle to bend over to tie your shoes or whatever. Like, if you take care of your body will take care of you. Like, so many people have said, oh yeah, you're just lucky now. Your metabolism is good. That's why you're so fit. You'll see when you're older.
You're like, dude, I built it this way.
No, like, I take care of my body. I will continue to take care of my body. Therefore, I will continue to be healthy, happy, and productive.
Well, and what you just said, that's some victim ass mentality bullshit. That's like,
it's an excuse.
It's but you were born with a good metabolism. Dude, no, I am in control of my metabolism. I tell it what to do because I have discipline and I am following certain protocols to make it do what I want it to do. You're not born with a quote unquote slow metabolism. That's not even a thing. So yeah, take this shit in your own hands. The other thing is you think that you're enjoying your life right now and just dealing with all these like minor aches and pains. You're gonna have so much more energy for yourself, for your friends, for your family, for your hobbies, like your dad to play baseball.
Yeah. He had to quit because he wasn't feeling good. He loves baseball. And he had to quit because he wasn't having fun anymore because his body didn't feel good. Now that he's taking care of it, he feels better. he can start to have more fun by playing baseball. Like that is huge.
And how hard was it to get him to just implement a few little things? Because these are simple things that you're talking about.
It's simple.
Yeah.
People think that, eating healthy doesn't taste good, or that to be healthy, you have to sacrifice all these crazy things. No, it can be simple as long as you're doing it effectively. Like don't follow these crazy fad diets or, don't do these crazy things. But as long as you get a good coach that knows what they're doing, a good coach will always break it down to the simplest terms that you can actually implement, because that's when you get results. Like, yes, could we make things more complicated and, do all these little tweaks? Yeah. But if you're not going to implement that, it doesn't matter. Like simplify it so you actually do it.
I think the biggest thing about, talking about eating well is, people think like, oh, it's not going to taste good. Or they think of like a typical healthy diet being
like
really
a boring salad
boring.
Or something.
Yeah. Fucking salad and shit. And I'm like, yeah, have a salad, but like, where's your protein, whatever. But really what I like to focus on is, much like with your sleep, it's a simple thing of like, how do you feel? Like, how do you feel when you eat certain things? Okay, cool. You don't feel good when you eat that thing. Don't eat that thing. So pay attention to how you feel. Let's remove the things that don't make you feel good. If you feel like shit every time you wake up to go to your shit job that you hate, well, maybe remove that job. Start doing shit that you like doing. But this is something that I wanted to talk to you about, is a lot of people are afraid to do that because they're comfortable right now. They're afraid of leaving their comfort zone. They're afraid of betting on themselves and going all in. This is all they've ever known. They're going to try something new. I mean, coming from the captain, how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the first step with pretty much anything is defining what success means to you and defining what you want. So the first thing I have my clients do in my program is create core values, create their mission statement, really define who they want to be, what they want to be remembered as, the legacy they want to leave. Start with the end in mind and then work back from that. If the path that you're on right now is not leading you closer to your optimal end goal, then the decision is easy. Change course. I call your mission statement your treasure map, because if you follow it, it will lead you to life's ultimate treasure, and you get to decide that, nobody else. And then your core values are your compass directions, because if you follow those, they will, navigate you towards completing your mission statement. So many people, I think, are living life without having defined what it is that they truly want. So they just take the first job that they get out of college, and just because that's the path that, society says that you're supposed to follow. But if you're not happy doing that, then again, what's the point? So even though it could be more challenging to pull the trigger and make that switch, it's going to pay off in the long run, because you'll be following your mission statement. You'll be aligning with who you were meant to be, not what society says you're meant to be.
And I think now is the time, like right now. Things are different now than they were even 10 years ago. Like people are understanding this. So especially if you're young, like if you're in college or getting out of college, like things aren't the way even when I was that age where everyone was like, no, you have to get a safe job. People are realizing that that's just bullshit. Yeah. They don't necessarily know how to do it, but they know for sure that nothing is safe anymore. There's no such thing as a safe job. In fact,
I was just going to say
having one source of income is one of the riskiest things you could do, honestly. So like, I think like, now is like the time to do it, when there's going to be less societal pressure to do your own thing now than there like has been before. So take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, don't give a fuck what anybody else says.
Yeah. You got to say, fuck it.
Yeah. If nobody else is trying to discourage you or say, oh, you better be careful, then you're probably doing something wrong, right? Like you should have that push and pull. You should be getting that feedback. That is probably going to tell you you're on the right path. Now, granted, they could be right and you could be, doing something completely stupid. But if you have defined, what it is that you truly desire, and that for a fact, and somebody tries to tell you otherwise, don't listen to them. Like, do what you feel is right.
Yeah, that does, like what they think doesn't matter. And they also,
it doesn't matter.
It's not their journey. So they don't have to understand.
They don't know you.
Yeah.
Like even if they're your parents, like nobody knows you like you know you.
Yeah.
You can take advice and you can, maybe take into consideration some of the things that they're saying, but ultimately it's up to you.
Yep.
You are the captain of your own life. You make the decisions.
I always just think about, like, let's take an example of like a younger person in college. They want to drop out of college to be like a YouTuber or something. That's probably not like that weird at this point. Like, there are people who do that, but it's still going to freak people out. They're going to be like, what do people think about me? Blah, blah, blah. And your parents are going to be like,
you're crazy.
Don't do that. Blah, blah, blah. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
but are your parents YouTubers? Why would you take advice from somebody who hasn't done the thing that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like, it just
Boom.
logically makes zero sense. Maybe if you wanted to take advice on being a parent or whatever they do, do that. But just because someone is your parent doesn't mean they're an expert on everything in the world.
Well,
Like, that just logically doesn't make any sense.
And likely your parents are also probably, or the people who are telling you not to do this thing are likely also probably the people who have just followed the herd. They did the safe thing. They got the safe job. So anything outside of that norm is crazy. And I've talked to Travis and our other friend Scott. We have a lot of friends who have like pretty entrepreneurial minded parents. And that's really fucking cool because they're like more okay with that. They're more okay with taking risks. They understand it. And not that my parents weren't, but they definitely thought I was fucking crazy when I wanted to be a personal trainer for a carear. They were like, cool, have fun making 30 grand a year. I was like, no. No, like,
You don't understand.
No, like, I'm going to make it. And yeah, of course, yeah, you get pushback, but dude, fuck it.
I think the best hack for somebody, like, if you're in that situation, you want to do something and you have like your friends or your parents telling you that you shouldn't, just think about, do they do that thing? And if not, okay, let me take this information that they gave me. That's a bad idea. Let me go find someone who's doing it and ask them and see what they think. And if they're like, no, this is really sick, you should definitely do it, you have what it takes, then definitely listen to that expert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now social
many-
media, you can find those people so easily.
Yeah. So many people listen and take advice from people who aren't qualified to give that advice. Like you were just saying, you know, parents who have never started their own business are not qualified to tell you what starting your own business is like because they've never done it. They probably have just heard from one of their friends who maybe started their own business and failed. And so they're always trying to, you know, keep you safe and have your best intentions in mind. But because they haven't gone down that path, they really don't know. And nobody who's above you, you know, so to speak, or more successful than you will ever, you know, talk down to you or criticize you or anything like that.
Yep.
And I actually I played a role in helping talk one of my clients out of going to college. He had just graduated high school. He came into my program. He told me he was planning on going to college because his parents would, you know, quote unquote, unown him if he didn't. They were paying for it. They're like, you need to go to college to succeed. And I was like, hey man, like, yeah, they're trying to protect you. They're trying to give you what's best. But if you want to start your own brand, like, I believe that you should not go to college and that you should dive 100% into this. And it took him a while, but he decided that he wasn't going to go. And now his brand is super successful. And yeah, I guess moral of the story is don't just do things because your parents or society or anybody else says so.
And
Like,
guess
no,
what?
and
Guess
it's your
what?
choice.
His parents now didn't disown them, and they're super proud.
Yeah,
of
they're
him.
probably super proud of him.
They're super
Yes.
proud of him.
Yeah, they were just scared. And that's
Yeah.
what a lot of people are just scared. And, you know, we're talking about people influencing your decision-making skills. Like you said, a lot of people, they want you to do well, but they don't always want you to do better than them, or they're afraid for your safety like your parents would be. I always bring this back to, you know, you're on a diet. You go out to dinner. You make a healthy selection, or, you know, your friends order dessert and they're like, oh, come on, it's just one bite. And you're like, no, it's not just one bite. They're trying to influence you so they don't feel bad about themselves.
Yeah.
So don't let people influence you.
I experienced that when I quit drinking,
Oh, I bet.
Oh yeah.
especially because I was still in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
The Marine Corps has a
Pussy.
very heavy
Yeah.
drinking culture.
Fuck it.
And, you know, and then I would go out to CrossFit parties too, because CrossFit, at least my gym, had a very tight community. We were all friends. We went out and partied on the weekends sometimes. And everybody was like, oh, come on, it's just one drink. Like, it's for this occasion. This only happens once. And I'm like, motherfucker, do you know how many times I would have had a drink if I would have just gone with, yeah, it's just this one time. It's not just that one time. It happens multiple times. Like, every time I go out, somebody says, oh, it's just this one time, just do it. And even if it was one time, it goes against my like personal integrity. Like I said that I'm not going to drink, so I'm not going to drink no matter what. I don't care. That's just, I really believe that people need to do what they say they're going to do, regardless of what comes up. I'm very stingy with the promises that I put out because I believe that, you know, what I say should be valid. I believe that I should be trustworthy. And, you know, like in high school, for example, they'd be like, oh, somebody would be like, oh yeah, do you promise? It's like, no, because I can't promise that. I don't know how it's going to turn out. But yeah, I think so many people just, they don't, their word doesn't mean anything because they say they're going to go to the gym and then they don't. They say they're not going to have the cookie and then they do.
Well, yeah. And I think you pretty much just nailed it there is when you say you're going to do something and you allow yourself room to slip up, it doesn't matter what it is. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If you say you're going to go to the gym 4 times this week and you say you're going to avoid cookies and you say you're going to make all these lifestyle changes, the second you open that fucking door to allow one of those things to occur, you're opening the entire fucking place. Like it's not just one cookie. It's not just one drink. It's everything else. It's every other promise you've made to yourself that you're now going back on because you allowed yourself the opportunity to slip up. If you don't allow yourself the opportunity to slip up, then you don't have to worry about falling back.
Yeah. 2 things with that. 1, surround yourself with people who are your true friends who will not even offer you the drink. And explain to them, be like, hey, I am not drinking, or I'm choosing to go to the gym, or I'm on this diet because, and then lay out your reasons. Because once they understand why you're doing something and how important it is to you, then they're less likely to, you know, instigate you. And then number 2 is set smaller goals. I think so many people overestimate that, you know, what they can do in a short period of time. If you're a couch potato and you haven't gone to the gym your whole life and you just decide that you're going to go every single day, I think that's a little bit too much. You know,
start walking.
Yeah. Somebody might be able to do that, but I'd say play it safe. Say, okay, I'm going to work out for 5 minutes tomorrow and stick to that and then gradually start to increase it. I think part of the problem is people set these crazy goals, like New Year's resolutions, for example.
Dude. Yeah.
Like it's this major year-long goal. And then it's so daunting to them. They're like, oh, fuck, I can never make it that long. But if you start small and then work your way up, that can really help you stick to those goals. Another thing is, you know, get a calendar and mark like a big red X on each day that you stick to the thing that you say you're going to do. And then just keep that chain going. And the longer that chain gets, the less likely you are to break it. Just, it's a visual thing. Like, man, I've made it so long. I don't want to fuck up now.
Don't break the chain.
That's a really good one. Like, especially something like drinking. All right, here's another day. Like if you have a problem with alcohol, like, all right, here's another day. Well, I've got 30 of them. Like, I like, that's a really good one.
You're just stringing good days together.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I'm going to add one more thing to that in terms of just sticking to your promises and being able to stand up to maybe the people who don't want to see you do well, or maybe they're not your true friends, or they don't fully support you, or they don't understand you.
Yep. Is
that no is a complete sentence. So if you don't want to fucking drink or you don't want the cookie, you just say no, and that should be the end of it. If they dig deeper,
I think the problem with that is people want to fit in. They care too much about what their friends are going to think, but it's your life. You get the negative side effects of, you know, whatever you say. So I think, you know, saying no is a superpower. Like if you can say no, you can say yes to so many other things.
Yeah, I feel like people should just practice saying no. Like say no more.
Right now.
Yeah, no. Right now. Say no like way more often.
No.
And not like no, but like no, like a statement. Like,
no, period.
Yeah.
And that's it. Period with a T on the end. So I really like the concept of like marking X's and not breaking the chain, because that's something that I teach in my clients is like, how many perfect days can we string together of just like hitting your protocols and doing what you said you were going to do? How many days in a row can we do that? what other things do you think are helpful for people in order to stay consistent, in order to, be in their routine and not deviate from it? I know you've said a lot of things so far in this podcast that are super valuable. What else do you have? Is there anything else that people can benefit from?
I would say the two major things are just pick one thing. Like, yeah, we've said a lot of things. Would it be beneficial if you stuck to all of them? Absolutely. But especially if you're the type of person who knows that you're less likely to stick to something because you've gone against what you said you're going to do for so long, just pick one thing that you think will move the needle forward. Like, each day should have one specific goal. Like, you shouldn't have a to-do list of a whole bunch of different things. There should be one main focus that you want to achieve. And if you accomplish that, the day is a success. You can do more things than that. Just because you accomplish this one thing doesn't mean just, yep, I'm done for the day, do whatever. Like, just make sure you get that one thing done. That marks the day as a success. Number two is get some type of coach or mentor or accountability friend to help you, because I think it's really fucking hard to do things on your own. And
we're not meant
why
to.
would you?
Yeah.
Like, if you had a coach who has been in your shoes, who knows, who can save you time and stress and energy, like, why wouldn't you do that? The free version would be some type of mentor that or some type of friend. Have somebody that you can talk to, that you can count on, that can hold you accountable. I think that's huge as well.
I agree. I mean, being a coach myself, obviously, we believe in coaching. We have to.
And we sound biased, but like, even before I became a coach, I had coaches and mentors.
Yep.
It really is a game changer.
Or you have a gym buddy, or like someone that you work out with or go for walks with or whatever.
Somebody. I have someone in my life. And once I started actually getting coaches, I started off getting coaches for fitness. And then I was like, oh shit, like, I just do what people tell me to do. Like, I just execute on the plan and it works. And I was like, okay, well, now I need a business coach. I need a finance coach. So I have fucking coaches now. And
coaches on coaches.
Yeah, dude. And I'm sure you probably see this in your clients too. Like, they start to see the benefit of having that accountability partner or that coach, and they start looking for somebody to fill that position in other avenues of their life, just like I did. It's not just fitness, but in their business, in maybe their relationships. They start going to therapy, or they seek somebody to help them there, to improve there. That's a cascading effect, just like all of this is. Start sleeping better, literally, and your whole life is going to get better, because you're going to want to get better.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. And my client who just finished up my program said this. He's like, yeah, now after taking this, I understand that mentorship or some form of coaching is required to be a successful entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. It's required, because entrepreneurship is all about speed of implementation, and coaches and mentors can help you get to where you want to go faster with less stress and time spent on something. They speed up the process. And every successful entrepreneur has some form of mentor, has some form of coach. And if you don't, you're going to be so far behind that it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're slowing yourself down. Or you're a fucking prodigy, I guess. I mean, I don't know if that exists.
I don't even know. Like, I think you have to have somebody, and not like a paid coach necessarily, but like some type of mentor who is where you want to be, who is more accomplished than you, and learn from them, whether it's listening to their podcast, reading books. I think obviously the one-on-one personalized approach is best, but books are essentially free. Go to your used bookstore, pick up books. There's a lifetime's worth of knowledge in them. Listen to podcasts of people who have achieved what you want to achieve. Take their advice. So
like Russell Brunson has free shit on the internet. Just go watch that.
I always say I'm not selling information. The information that I teach is out there for free somewhere, in a book, in a podcast. It's not about the information. It's about the accountability and helping you in your specific situation, to tell you, okay, I suggest doing this because this. Everybody's individual. So, yes, getting 8 hours of sleep is good for most people, but if your schedule doesn't allow you to do that, what are some ways to optimize it?
Yep.
These little tweaks that you might not find in a book or a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think that's really valuable. And, we're coming up on an hour. So I think what I want to do here is, I want to wrap things up. I think some key takeaways from this podcast, and of course you guys can add on to these if you think I've missed anything, but like number one, what I've learned is sleep is super fucking important. Like you have to prioritize that shit. Go to Taylor's Instagram, click the link in his bio, check out the 4-3-2-1-30 sleep method. You can implement it tonight. Why wouldn't you do that? Number two is, we just talked about, pick one thing for the day and be great at it. I think that's a massive way to optimize productivity. So many people, myself included, I have a huge list of shit I need to do. I need to pick the most important thing and then get that done. Everything else is just icing on the cake. That will be super helpful for me. I know that. Number three is live for your fulfillment. Like find your ultimate happiness, your ultimate purpose, structure your entire life around that. Nobody else fucking matters. Don't listen to them. And then number four is get a coach.
Boom.
Sick.
Love it.
I feel good about that. Dude, it's been really good talking to you, man. I really enjoyed having you on. I think I want to have you on back again. And I think I have a private Facebook group for all of my clients and my fitness people that I think would be really valuable. I think they would love to hear what you have to say as well. So I would love to get you in there. But before we leave, man, I know people are going to want to follow you. Obviously, they want to download the 4-3-2-1-30 sleep method. Give yourself the plug. Where can people find you?
Yeah, on Instagram. My personal is at 6CaptainMorgan9. Business is the Captain's Lifestyle podcast, the Captain's Lifestyle YouTube, Captain's Lifestyle. Basically just, search the Captain's Lifestyle. I'll come up. And if you don't have an Instagram and you want the 4-3-2-1-30, it's info.thecaptainslifestyle.com.
Sick. All right. Well, yeah, highly recommend everybody reach out to you, man. It's been great having you on. We're going to have you on again. I just enjoyed chatting with you, and I'm sure we could go on for a lot longer, but thank you everybody who tuned into this episode. It's been really great. I hope you guys took a lot of pointers away. It's very valuable. And that's it for this episode of the Struggle to Strength podcast. We'll see y'all next week.